Hey guys, so here bringing you another video. Now today I'm bringing you a video all about Zac Jungle. He's recently seen some play in the LCS by our very own HuzzyGames, and there's been a couple reasons why. He's had some buffs to himself, there's been a change to the meta, and the new jungle item Cinderhulk. So this video is just going to be a brief overview, kind of explaining what the champion is, what is he supposed to do, and going through his abilities and a standard item build. So let's actually just straight away go into what his abilities do. So let's start with his passive, as his passive is pretty damn important for him. It actually has two parts. The first part is just a standard. Whenever you use a ability that hits an enemy, you will drop a bloblet. Each bloblet that you pick up, which will be on the floor, regens Zac's health by 4% of his maximum health. Although, if an enemy walks over one of these bloblets, it will destroy them. This is extremely important when you're jungling. Make sure you pick up as many as possible. And after your first clear, after you use your first 2 potions from the first time you spawn into the game, you most likely will never have to buy potions again. The second part to Zac's passive is, upon taking fatal damage, Zac will split into 4 different bloblets. Each blob has 12% of Zac's maximum health and also 50% of his armor and magic resistances, so that they're a little bit beefy. Now, if any of these blobs remain for 8 seconds, Zac will come back alive. He will not die. But obviously, when you're in this blob form that you're trying to just revive, you can't do anything. Now, be warned, this is on a 5-minute cooldown, much like a Nivea egg, so if you use it more than once every 5 minutes, you're just simply going to die. Now, Zac's Q is Stretching Strike, and it pretty much does exactly what it sounds like, and it is Zac stretches out his arms in a punch in front of him, and if any enemies are hit by this punch, it will slow them for 2 seconds. Now, it's an okay ability. You do max it last on Zac because it's pretty much just a utility fill spell, but it's okay. It starts at a 20% slow and it finishes at a 40% slow, which can make the difference in ganks. Now, this is a Zac's W, Unstable Matter, and it actually has 2 parts to it. The first part is simply it activates part of your passive. It activates Cell Division, which, as I mentioned earlier, allows bloblets to fall on the floor when you use an ability on enemies, and you can go pick them up to gain health. Now, the actual spell itself is Zac does a mini explode. His body just does a little bit of a ripple and does AoE damage all around him. Now, this doesn't do hardly any damage in its base form, but it does do some additional damage in the form of maximum health percentage. It starts at 4% maximum health and then finally finishes at 8% maximum health. And if you do find that you're really fed and you do build a bit of AP, you'll actually probably do around 10% maximum health percentage to an enemy when you use Unstable Matter. Now, Zac's E is Elastic Slingshot, and it pretty much is his signature move. It allows him to be this ganking, engaged jungler that he's known for. The guy that can just simply jump out of nowhere and surprise attack you, and then also the E does a knock up, so if you land it directly, you're already displacing the enemy. Now, it works fairly simple. Every single time you charge your E, there will be a cone in front of you that appears. The longer you hold your button down, the further Zac will go, with obviously some limitations because he can't jump the whole map. Now, just to put it in perspective of how long he can go at maximum rank, Graves is a very popular AD carry right now, with his auto attack range being 525. Zac's E at rank 5 can go 1550 range, so nearly triple Graves' auto attack range, so that kind of shows you how long it can go. So Zac's ultimate is Let's Bounce. Very simple, you become a bouncy ball, and it's very effective in middle of team fights as it is a massive displacement. So you jump into the air and you land on the ground, and if you hit any enemies, you will displace them. You will knock them back for 1 second and also slow them for 20%. He then further jumps back into the air for a further 3 times, dealing the same amount of damage to new targets. Now, if you do hit the same enemy over and over again with your ultimate, every single time it will do less damage to them and it will not knock them up again. Now, it is also worth noting that you can use Unstable Matter while you're in your ultimate, your W, just to add a little bit more damage while you're bouncing around. So this page is all about items on Zac, and you'll notice I'm not giving a standard item build. I'm a firm believer that every single game in LoL is different and you need to change your item build accordingly. So if we just start at the core items, which are items I think you should get, is obviously the jungle item, and I personally go for the Stalker's Blade with the Cinderhulk upgrade, then with the Warmogs, because it is a very good item on Zac, and then finally your tier 2 boots. Get your tier 2 boots depending what the enemy is, so Mercury Treads, Lucidity Boots, or Ninja Tabby. Now if we move further into the items, we now look into what you actually want in your core build. So if you're against AP, Spirit Visage, Locket and Banshees are all good items, and if you're against AD, Eranduin's and Thornmail are also good. Now if you are extremely fed, and I do mean extremely fed, then you can consider building some AP with Abyssal, Liandry's or Riley. Please note though, Zac does not do a lot of AP damage, so be very careful if you are going AP and if you're not very fed. So you now know Zac is a tank engaged jungler, you know his abilities and you know what items are good on him, but this doesn't necessarily make you into a good Zac player. So here's a couple of things that I'd recommend if you are looking to pick up the champion. The first thing is, do not go into solo queue straight away. Zac is a fairly unique jungler in terms of when he can engage, where he can gank from, so get a couple of games under your belt at least in normals before you even think about solo queue. The second thing is, for a tank, Zac can be played fairly aggressive, much due to his passive. You know, your passive allows you to come back from the dead, so don't be scared to jump into the enemy team and die if it's a good situation to cause a lot of disruption. You have 8 seconds to come back alive, and if the enemy team are focusing your bloblets, then your team can deal out the damage. And finally, look for really weird gank paths. You have a massive E range, much like a Fiddlesticks ultimate, so look for ganks that people don't really necessarily recommend. Look for jumping over a wall to get a flank on the enemy. It really can catch people by surprise. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this Zac overview. I thought I'd make it just to kind of give you a bit more information about the champion and help you learn it if you want to. Now, if you are interested in any other League of Legends content, make sure you subscribe to the Team Dignitas YouTube channel, as well as my own personal channel, HuzzyGames.